So last year, I talked about an anime called Revengers, and I mentioned how much I enjoy a good samurai flick. And after some time, I started to think why. Maybe there's a part of me that finds history fascinating, since we live in a crazy world where anything can happen. As we look through different eras, we see how unique people are in the way they live with the world around them, and in regards to samurai, depending on the era, there's just so much to explore. And we have been fortunate to witness many stories during this time, from Ronin getting revenge, to a blind swordsman saving people from gangsters. Oh, by the way, Ghost of Tsushima is amazing. Feudal Japan was a fascinating era, and I'm always down for media showing this. Also, I mentioned I had trouble reading Vagabond, but now I've finished a volume and holy bejesus is it good. Seeing how Musashi got his fictional start is just thrilling to read. So I do hope we get to see a Vagabond adaptation, because there is so much to explore about this character. Although now that I think about it, I don't think I'm aware of other samurai heroes that existed. Musashi is the only one, and his legends are legendary. Nope, that's a lie, since I did watch Meiji Gekken a few seasons ago, which is another historical fiction set in the 19th century, featuring several real-life people, including Koto Nezukawa, a female samurai in a time when samurai were fading away. However, there is another anime of a samurai with his own tale to tell. The Elusive Samurai is a historical fiction anime with a slight twist. So the manga was created by Yusei Matsui and was published in 2021 in the weekly Shonen Jump magazine. Now Yusei Matsui might sound familiar to many people, as he was the creator of the critically acclaimed Assassination Classroom series. In a past life, I did a short-lived React series before deleting it, but I managed to finish watching the series sometime last year. It's become one of my guilty pleasures as I occasionally tune into it when I need to feel something. Honestly, it would have been in my top 10 if I watched the anime when it dropped. But either way, it got me curious about the author's other works, and I do remember hearing that he was working on a new manga series. So it's fair to say I'm really hyped for this anime. Especially learning that it's a samurai flick, and also learning it's by Cloverworks. Man, those guys just don't miss. I mean, I just finished watching Windbreaker. Don't laugh. And honestly, the animation is just so good. And while we're at it, Cloverworks, Bocce the Rock Season 2? Can we get that, please? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, so why don't we just drop everything and just get into Elusive Samurai. So we begin this anime. Oh my god, look at this animation. Oh, so smooth and fluid, and the colors are amazing. Why is Cloverworks so good? Okay, I got that out of my system. So we begin this anime by meeting Hojo Tokiyuki, who is a rascal of the Hojo clan who refuses to do any studies as he much prefers to run circles around his guards. And it's here we see that despite being a child, Tokiyuki has an exceptional talent for eluding people, slipping out of their grasps like butter, and showing incredible acrobatic skills that could rival many adults. Although we see how sheltered Tokiyuki's life is, as he lives his days being rebellious, while his father makes important decisions for the country.
Don't worry, my lord, we have everything under control.
For the most part, it seems like Tokiyuki will be fine, as he is surrounded by soldiers loyal to his family. His brother will succeed in his father's place as regent, and he himself will be acquainted with his soon-to-be wife, who awaits the day when she will join him. All was well until the Fire Nation attacked. Oh, sorry, that's an old draft, hang on. Okay, let's try again. All was well until Ashikaga Takeuji betrayed the Hojo clan and enacted a coup which led to the decimation of the regent family and their armies viciously slaughtered. Before Tokiyuki could blink, he had lost everything he loved. His friends, family, even his brother was gone. The Hojo clan was destroyed, and it wouldn't be long until he met his demise. However, he soon meets Yorishige Suwa, an eccentric priest who claims to have the power to see the future. The priest explains to Tokiyuki that he knew this would happen, and that he must go on his journey to fight Ashikaga and get revenge by raising his army against the traitor. To defeat his enemies, he must use unusual tactics, as Ashikaga is too strong for the meek boy to fight. He must use his elusiveness to fight his battles in what Yorishige would call a game of tag. So Tokiyuki starts his journey as he builds up his forces to fight Ashikaga in the battle of running away.
So began the adventurous life of the elusive samurai prince.
All I have to say is wow, it's more or less the hero's journey as we see Tokiyuki's innocence slashed away by this one person, and now he is thrust upon this path with the help of a mad monk. Where have I heard that before? Joking aside, it's a classic storyline, but my god does it work. And the animation really lend themselves here. So much to talk about, so I guess we should start with who the hell are these people? So according to what I was able to search up, Hojo Tokiyuki did exist, as the Hojo clan were in a unique position during this period, as for about a century, their family had effectively ruled Japan as Shikken, which was a regency power that was passed down through the Hojo bloodline. But of course, with great power comes greater enemies, which they had many of during this time, leading to much resentment with many disputes regarding succession and who did what. All this culminated in the events that occurred in 1333, resulting in all of the Hojo clan being killed. The current regent Takatoki committed suicide, and his eldest son was killed while Tokiyuki escaped. It's not only the protagonist that existed, but throughout the anime we see many other historical characters make their appearance, such as Godaigo, who became the emperor after the Hojo family had fallen, as well as the main antagonist of the series, Ashikaga, who according to history was indeed a general who betrayed the Hojo clan. But not long after establishing the new emperor, he would soon go against him, and 3 years later he became the shogun of Japan, ushering in a new era. Spoiler alert. But of course, historical fiction is still fiction, and it's obvious here that many of the characters are used as a foundation to tell a new perspective of the story. I mean, the fact we're following Tokiyuki is something, as we know from history the Hojo clan never recovered from this, so already I have many questions as to what on earth we're getting into here. Either way, I'm excited to find out, especially with these animations which have me really hyped. I know Cloverworks are known for this, but they really went all out here, as the way everything moves so smoothly gets to me, as it exemplifies the point that Tokiyuki is incredibly good at being elusive. The way he moves around his enemies is breathtaking, and there were times when I found myself lost in the animation sea. Even when we're not focusing on Tokiyuki, the animation can improve certain character quirks, and in this show, we're introduced to some eccentric people, like Yorishige, as he's supposed to be this enlightened priest who has a blinding aura that could burn your eyes like my eyes! Basically that, and the show is how you might imagine it to be. However, my favourite example will be this guy here. He gets sent by Ashikaga to govern the sewer area, and the big thing with him is that he's a bloody good shot, because his eyes are so big they can see everything. Now big eyes already sound weird, but the anime wants to nail down how creepy this guy is by making them protrude like a cartoon. Well, a western cartoon more like. Or the way they shake like eggs on a frying pan. But the weirdest thing is the fact that in some scenes, these eyes can talk to people and have actual conversations. Man, I need to stay off that spice, but either way, the anime does not fail to impress, and these unnerving feelings really add to it and make good enemies for Tokiyuki on his journey. Also, looking back, you can see it's by the same guy that did Assassination Classroom from the designs alone, and this might be me, but this guy here looks like Karasuma. Yeah, it feels like I'm watching a canvas come to life with this art style, and I'm all for it, but just because it looks really good doesn't make it a good anime. So what about the characters? Well, despite being based on people from history, they're nowhere near what their real counterparts are like. Unless they are for some reason. But man, these guys are incredibly over the top. So let's start with Tokiyuki. He's the hero who must rise to the challenge. But even so, his greatest skill is his elusiveness, as not only is he good at it, but he also enjoys the sense of danger. The fact that every encounter can lead to death excites him, and in a way, going against Ashikaga is a great way to get his fix. So his motivation for doing this is all the more guaranteed. But he's still a kid and very inexperienced with the real world, which is something he'll work on as the anime goes on. When he's not goof enough anyway. Meanwhile, Yorishige is someone I describe as a presence, considering he acts as Tokiyuki's spiritual guide, teaching him the ways of playing tag on the battlefield, although he can be too much for our protagonist at times. But he is very good at what he does, since he knows how to push the right buttons, and with the help of his future sight, he can see many possibilities and act accordingly. It also lends to some comedy moments which involve some fascinating insights that veers into breaking the fourth wall. In a way, he reminds me of Koro Sensei, as they both share a mentor role to the protagonist, as well as being rather mad. However, there are some problems I have with him, but I'll get into that later. Either way, Tokiyuki is not alone in this battle, as he also gains valuable allies who assist him in his revenge, and like always, builds friendships so they can work cohesively as a team. And boy, they're gonna need it, because Ashikaga does not mess around, as so far, he's shown to be incredibly skilled in battle. This scene with Ashikaga hammers down the fight that Tokiyuki will need to bring. He will need to lean on Sua's teachings to defeat him, but the question is how far they can go, because anyone who reads up on his history knows what happens next. Perhaps it's not about the end, but the journey itself. However, if there's one little thing that makes it difficult to swallow, it's the humour. Yeah, if there's one thing that didn't stick with me, it's that. As most of the comedy comes from either Tokiyuki being a wild child or Sua being a menace, but it just didn't feel like it hits their mark. Assassination Classroom had some funny moments since it was more restrained, so whenever Koro-sensei did something wild, I managed to get a laugh out of it. Here on the other hand, I struggled to do so, especially once the gags were being repeated. How many times do I have to see Sua being shrouded in light? Like, Jesus. To be fair, this is a problem with a lot of gaggy humour. The constant repetition can be tiring, and I much prefer comedies that are more smart than samey. It's also a shame because I think the writer had achieved this in Assassination Classroom, but here it feels like a step back. Unfortunately, that will be something you will need to bear in mind going into this show, but like most animes, these comedic moments are mainly in moderation, and I think this show does well at inducing a WTF feel, rather than a ha-ha feel. Elusive Samurai is an interesting take on a real life event. As historical fiction and anime, it will take many liberties, but it has given me the excuse to learn about Japanese history. It was similar to Otaku Elf, where I learned about the Tokugawa shogunate through the characters. Here we are introduced to a different era with its conflicts, and while we know the destination, the journey is what we're here for. So if you want something like that, then I would recommend this anime. Just bear in mind that it can get a bit wild considering the mangaka's taste, but Cloverworks absolutely delivers on this anime. And honestly, I would just recommend this anime just because of that. Alright, that's another anime down. What's next? Oh,